record, share screen, boom, boom, boom. And we can do more than one if you'd like to. But if you decide that one is like enough and it all comes back to you, then that's fine too. Whatever, I'm down. So I think we should probably do the first couple. I don't know if you see why yet, but Calvin, do you see something that happens on problem two? Well, perhaps we should just talk about problem one and then we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Okay, there it is. Problem number one on assignment number 30. So is this a level one? It is not. If it were, then there'd be some X's or Y's ready to cancel out. It is, though, a very simple level two, meaning I don't have to multiply both equations. Do you guys see the shortcut? Yep. And some people would say, well, couldn't you divide the bottom one by two? And I find that, I don't know, I don't, it's not laziness. It's just like I like to play the odds. I think that I have better luck with my students if we just stick to multiplication. But if you're really confident and comfortable, you could totally divide the bottom by two because they're all even, just FYI. I'm going to stick with what we normally do and multiply the whole top row by two. Do I have to do negative two? Why not?
Negative 4y.
Right. These signs are already cooperating with us, the minus and the plus. So we're good to go. So we're going to copy down the bottom equation again. So we have a 2x plus 8y equaling 26. And then my new top equation is negative 6 of those x's minus 8 of those y's equal to negative 30. And then I like to draw my line as if to say I'm ready to add. So remember in this, Cal? Coming back to you. So if we add downwards, how many x's do we get?
-4.
Perfect. If we add downwards, how many y's do we get? None. They cancel out, right? That's the whole point. And then we copy down the equal sign. And then if you add down the column of the constants, what do you get? Yes. And if negative 4x equals negative 4 and we divide by negative 4, then x equals 1. And then I like to go and write my final answer or at least get it started. I've said that probably 20 times. I like to build it and then come back and fill it in. Put the 1 in the X spot, obviously. And we have three distinctly different places where we could put the 1. Any of them more attractive to you than like original 1, original 2, or modified 1? Who do we like the best?
Original.
You like original 1. Okay, so the one that I'm circling in green is the one that Cal has selected. And you could certainly, as I've said, pick a different one if you want to. But if I pick the original one, the one with the green oval around it, then whenever I see x, I'm going to change it into 1. So this negative 3x part right here, what's negative 3 times 1? Yeah, so it's really just going to say negative 3 minus 4y equals negative 15. You see it? Okay. And then we just solve, right? It's like the first thing we teach you in Algebra 1, and there's a reason I spend a month on it because it just never, ever goes away. You better know how to solve equations. So what do we do? Yep, by adding it to both sides. And if you add 3 to both sides, you get negative 4y equals negative 12. Because negative 15 plus 3 is negative 12. And then what do we do? By
Negative.
giving us y equals 3. And then I go over to my answer and I complete it. And some people believe in checking their answers. A younger version of myself 25 years ago probably required students to do that. I'm of the opinion now that you can. Like if you wanted to ace a test, you wanted to grade your test essentially before you turn it in, you could take the 1 and the 3 and go back to the original problem and change all the x's and y's into 1s and 3s and see if your equations check out. And if they do, then it's like grading your own test before your teacher does. It's kind of nice. Any questions on number 1? Okay, let's take a look at number 2. Cal, did you figure out what I was talking about yet with number two? Why I kind of want to go over it with you? Yeah, it's just not the 7x that's out of place. I feel like this whole equation is just weird, man. Right? Like everything, there's a template that you should be following. And the template, I think I showed you this the first day, is that if you want to be in your ultimate comfort zone with elimination, your equations should look like this. There should be an equals here and an equals here. And if you just want to be Mr. By the book, then you should always put your X term first. You should put your Y term to the right of that, and you should put your number over here. If you always ensure that your equations look like this, then everything that we do in our notes and our examples and all that will match, right? Now there's shortcuts, there's like other ways, but I mean, again, I had to teach this to a lot of people, and so I just play the odds and say, let's just get each equation to look like the red template. So if we talk about equation one up here, I see two things that have to move. What's one of them? The negative 21 is on the wrong side. So let's all agree that if we take the top equation, equation one, and we move that minus 21 to the other side, he becomes positive 21. Who else has to move? 7x is on the wrong side. And I'm not just going to move it and replace the 21 with the 7x. I'm really holding tight to this red template, this mold over here. And so I want my 7x to go first. And so when I move it over the equals wall, it has to change to negative. So it goes to negative 7x. And there's one guy that didn't have to move, and it's the 8y, right? 8y was the only one that was being well behaved from the get-go. And so since he's positive, I'm going to put it as a plus. Pluses and positives are sort of interchangeable, right? I don't know how you feel about the second equation. It varies from one kid to the next. I mean, it depends on again, your confidence and comfort level. Some people see math as every problem is terrifying, and some people see it as just natural and flowing. I mean, it just depends who you are. Um, it's not as egregious and offensive as it might first look, right? I mean, if you look at it from one perspective, you can say, what's wrong? What are you getting uptight about? The X's and Y's are on one side and the 22's on another side, right? So it kind of just depends who you are. If I'm going to do this by the book, and since I'm recording it, I will, I'm just going to do everything that I did before. Basically, there's no one in equation two that's being well behaved. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 22 and I'm going to jump it over to the right. And I'm going to, of course, make it positive. And then I'm going to take the 4x and say, you know where you're supposed to be. Get over there on the left side and become a negative. So I switch him to negative 4x. And then the 6y, I say the same thing. Say, you're on the wrong side, Mr. Negative 6y. Go to the other side. And don't forget to change yourself to plus. If you had like a mom or a dad or a brother or another math teacher watching this video with you, they might say, I don't know why Mr. Ahern did that. Like it was a bit of overkill. But again, I'm just doing that so that everything that we do feels the same. You really could have just reversed the sides. I mean, whatever, but that should feel fine. So when we look at it like this, is it a level one, a level two, or a level three? It's definitely a three, right? There's no way I can turn the four into a seven, and you can't turn a six into an eight, right? So this is just a classic case of let's multiply both equations. There really is no variable here that's much better than the other. They both kind of suck, quite frankly, because the signs are not cooperating with us. You'll notice that the x's are both minuses, which is like, meh, thanks a lot. And you'll notice that the y's are both pluses. And again, hey, thanks a lot. So no big deal. So who do you guys want to get rid of, x's or y's? You could do that, yes. So we didn't really ever answer my question because you guys silent treatment me, but I assume based on that you've decided you want to get rid of the y's. Is that correct? Okay. What is the smallest number that 8 and 6 can both turn into? It's 24, right? It's not, I mean, 48 is what you were going for, and that would work just fine, except you're going to have bigger numbers. So I'm going to pick the smaller acceptable one. The smallest number that 8 and 6 both go into is 24. So I'm going to kind of take a modified version of what Justice said, and I'm going to multiply the top equation by, do you want to do the negative on top or the bottom? Bottom? Okay, so we're just going to multiply this one by regular 3, and that'll turn that 8 into a 24. But now we are stuck needing a negative because we have to get the signs to be opposites of each other. So what do we have to multiply the bottom by? Perfect. And I would like to reiterate that what Justice said is not wrong. I want smaller numbers, so I'm going to pick a slightly smaller version of what you said. Okay. Any questions so far? That's really it. I mean, the rest is just fingers crossed that we don't make any mistakes. So what's my top equation going to be? Equals. Just do 3 times 20 and 3 times 1 and add them together. You don't need a calculator. 63 is correct. And bottom row? And again, don't think calculator. Just do 4 times 20 and 4 times 2 and add them together. It's negative for sure, and it is 80 plus 8, so 88. Any questions about that? We've turned it into a level 1, right? I think I said that in the lesson, but like that's the goal, is to turn every level 2 or level 3 into a level 1. This actually was like a level 4 at the beginning because we had to rearrange terms. This is about as bad as problems get in this section. We have to rearrange, we have to multiply them both, but in the end, if you know, don't multiply something wrong or forget a negative or something like that, then it's not bad. So when we add downwards, how many x's do we get? Negative 21 plus 16. Negative 5. If you owe me $21 and pay me back 16, you still owe me, but only 5 more, right? And then when we add down the y's, they of course eliminate. Kapook, kapook. Copy down your equals. And what is 63 plus negative or minus, however you want to say that? If you have $63 and then swipe your debit card for 88, you owe the bank how much? You owe the bank 25, so it's negative 25, right? And then we divide everything by negative 5, giving us our first half of our answer, which is x equals 5. And as I always do, I will make an answer and leave half of it empty. How many uniquely different places do we have in which we could substitute the 5? 4 to be exact, right? We have the original 2 equations and then we have the new ones. But the new ones, I would venture to say you probably wouldn't want to pick just because the numbers are bigger, right? So like, what's the point of that? Yeah, probably the bottom equation, slightly smaller numbers generally. Yeah, it's a little bit better. So we're going to take the 5 and we're going to put it right where that little x is right there. And do a little bit of math as you go, just a little. What's negative 4 times 5? So it's going to be negative 20 because that's us putting the 5 right where that yellow arrow is pointing. And then we're going to copy the rest of the equation. Plus 6y equals 22. And yet again, we sure hope that August and September went well, right? What do we do now? To take away a negative 20, you have to add 20. So we're going to add 20 to both sides, giving us 42. And then thank your 4th grade or 5th grade teacher or your parents, whoever forced you to learn your times tables. What's 42 divided by 6? That's right. So there you go. Where's the first problem on this worksheet today where you could look at it and say it's already a level 1?
No,
3 is definitely a level 3. You're fine.
number 5.
5 is the first one. 5's the first one that the computer wrote for you and gave you a plus y and a minus y. So 5, you don't have anything to do. Where's the next one that's a fluffer puffer? 10 looks pretty fluffy. Where else? 9's pretty fluffy. And I think that's all of them. So that is it. There are late start schedules all over the room. So this class gets out at 11:44. So you guys have about 10 minutes. I know it's not a lot, but let's work as hard as we can for 10 minutes. And then don't forget, you go to lunch after this hour today. I know the schedule's a little wonky. And then after lunch, we go to fourth and then fifth and then flex. Crazy. So would you like to do any more problems with me? All right. So there's our little warm up for the day. I'm going to get this on the recording so that I can have it for posterity. Go Notre Dame tonight.